नमस्कार और आप सभी का स्वागत है। मैं हूं प्रज्ञा पालीवाल और आज हमारे साथ एक ऐसी शख्सियत है जो अपनी शार्प एनालिसिस और स्ट्रॉन्ग ऑन स्क्रीन प्रेजेंस के लिए जानी जाती है। एज अ सीनियर एडिटर एंड एंकर एट CNN न्यूज़ 18 फॉर पास्ट 14 ईयर्स इन्होंने नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल न्यूज़ को काफ़ी क्लैरिटी के साथ प्रेजेंट किया है, जो ना कि ऑडियंस को सिर्फ इन्फॉर्म करती है बल्कि इंगेज भी करती है। लेकिन इनकी पहचान सिर्फ न्यूज़ रूम तक लिमिटेड नहीं है। ये एक ऑथर और पोएट भी है। इनकी पोएट्री कलेक्शन कमेलियन लाइट्स और साइलेंट सन इनकी एक अलग क्रिएटिव साइड दिखाती है जो कि जर्नलिज्म से काफ़ी अलग है। आज हम इनके साथ सिर्फ जर्नलिज्म की बात नहीं करेंगे, इनकी जर्नी, एक्सपीरियंसेस और इनके इनसाइट्स के बारे में भी बात करेंगे। सो जॉइन मी इन वेलकमिंग मिस्टर आयुष्मान जामवाल। हेलो सर, how are you feeling at our campus?
It's such a colorful campus. I can feel the energy of all the students, and something that's central to any kind of media ecosystem is the energy and the zest of students. And it's so nice to be in such an institute where the energy and the zest of the youth is channeled into the media sphere. I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, sir. So, sir, I'll ask you a few questions, and meanwhile, I'll also show you our studios and our labs and library.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yes.
Let's go. तो सर, जैसे कि आप पोएट भी हैं और एक राइटर भी हैं, तो आई वुड लाइक टू नो योर व्यूज़ ऑन कि आपके लिए जर्नलिज्म और पोएट्री दो अलग दुनिया है या सेम सच को एक्सप्रेस करने के दो अलग तरीके?
One world complements the other.
Yeah.
I've always felt. I'm always a journalist at heart because I love compelling human stories. I love the narrative surrounding different stories. And it's a funny thing that I used to remember when I was a desk editor, when I was a cub reporter, and I would finish a story, I would always walk back home.
Okay.
And you know, like once you're out of the newsroom, you are decompressing your mind, you know, because otherwise you're rushing throughout the time. And when you're decompressing, and I was listening to music, I would reflect on the stories.
Okay.
And that would kind of evoke the writer inside me.
Yeah,
So I take out my phone, I take out the notes app and start writing my verses or lines or whatever. And by the end of it, you know, a couple of poems shaped out and I just turned them into a book. So I've always realized that because journalists put their heart and soul into stories, because they become the emotions associated with the stories. And if you have the edge to write, that bleeds into your writing as well. Those same emotions that go into your reporting bleeds into your writing, and then I think writing then complements that world itself.
Yeah.
So they are two sides of the same coin pretty much, creative writing and journalism at the same time.
Yeah, that is, I think that is how a writer is produced, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so my next question to you would be कि आपने अपनी हायर स्टडीज़ यूके से की हैं
जी,
तो वहाँ का और इंडिया का जो पॉलिटिकल एनवायरनमेंट है काफ़ी डिफरेंट है।
बहुत
बहुत
डिफरेंट।
हाउ डू यू थिंक और हाउ वुड यू एक्सप्लेन कि इंडिया और यूके के पॉलिटिकल जो एनवायरनमेंट है, पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम है, वो किस तरह से डिफर करते हैं, एंड आपको क्या लगता है कि इंडिया के पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम में क्या क्या चेंजेस आ सकते हैं या सुधार आई वुड से क्या आ सकते हैं फॉर
Well, one thing is completely different about the two political systems is that in the UK there is a lot more public pressure and a lot more accountability is sort of politicians. In fact, politicians have this kind of an ecosystem where if they are caught in even embarrassing situations, let's put it lightly, if they are caught in embarrassing situations, they don't wait for public pressure, they resign themselves.
Okay.
India, I think it's such a task for people to get into power. So much effort and time and even money goes into gaining power that if anything embarrassing happens to them personally or even politically, they have such tough skins that they refuse to resign, that they refuse to give up, or they even refuse to own up. But what's happening is that the difference is that while public awakening in the UK has happened over almost centuries of democracy, we are not even 100 years old. But that awakening among the Indian youth is coming thanks to the power of social media. People have more avenues to express themselves, they have more avenues to mobilize their thoughts, they have more avenues to put pressure on politicians through social media, because now politicians, they rely on digital news, they rely on digital campaigning, and in that digital campaigning you can't cut out the millions of people in this country. They themselves have a say, and in that scenario I think people have more weapons at hand to kind of put more pressure on politicians. I mean, you look at the campaigns, surrounding Rahul Gandhi, surrounding Arvind Kejriwal, surrounding the Prime Minister. They are praised, yet they are mocked and made fun of and even criticized at the same time. And that is a reality politicians have to deal with, that you can't skate by keeping the people in the dark. Now people have avenues to learn more and to express themselves at the same time.
For sure. So this is our radio lab, sir.
Nice.
These are where all the recordings and stuff are done. Students are right now also recording.
Yeah. One of my first assignments at university also, I used to have a political roundtable show where we used to discuss global and UK politics. It was called the Roundtable. And that scene just took me back to those days when I used to host the roundtable with two other hosts, and there were three of them inside just talking.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia, yeah. And I always feel that these are like great ways to kind of like flesh out your skills in broadcast media, because especially abroad, what you tend to have is very theoretical kind of courses. Where they teach you about the history of mass communication, they teach you what is narratives, it's all great to learn how to write, how to weave narratives, how to talk about certain things, but to actually get your fingers into the practicality of the entire medium, that is a different thing altogether.
That practical exposure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think beyond the lecture theatre, what I learned more in the editing booths, in the radio booths, on the field while interning for different channels, that knowledge was invaluable as compared to what I learned in the lecture theatres. And I think practical exposure is essential to any kind of a training for any media professional.
So this is our FM station. If you had a chance to give some kind of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I would tell my younger self to focus more on training to be in front of the camera as compared to behind the camera. I spent a lot of time behind the camera. I was primarily a writer. I was primarily a desk editor. I was primarily a news gatherer. And I was fascinated by the entire production process. Like I remember whenever many of my my batchmates and my other mates when they used to enter the newsroom, everyone used to get fascinated by the anchor. Used to get fascinated by the guys.
That's a thing between students,
Yeah. That they used to get fascinated by the anchor, the man sitting or the woman sitting in front of the camera. I was always the person who was fascinated by the people behind the camera.
That's quite different.
Yeah. I wanted to know how they do it, what they do. So I was a desk editor and a producer first. And then I went in front of the camera. So I feel that the knowledge that I learned behind the camera as a writer, as a production head, as someone who produces shows and all of that was invaluable to my transfer in front of the camera. But then if I talk to my younger self, I would tell my younger self, कि थोड़ा जल्दी सीख, so that you can get in front of the camera a little sooner and experience that world. But I would always say that for anyone who is looking for a career in the media industry, you have to learn both aspects of that game.
Exactly. That is how you differentiate that what you want in life.
Absolutely. But more than anything else, I feel if you have to come in front of the camera, it gives you a significant edge over others if you know how news production is done. If you know what is the process behind the camera, because then you can always think on your feet. Then you can always be more dynamic with your entire news production process. So to have a holistic understanding of the newsroom, what people in the desk do, what the cameraman does, what the booth people do, and then what the anchor does, it is essential for you to be a all-rounded professional.
So if I ask you, what is your personal favorite part, to be behind the camera or to be on screen?
Now I would say I prefer being on screen, because I think I've learned, I mean, through the first almost 8 years of my career,
Yeah.
I learned pretty much everything to do behind the camera.
Yeah.
And after some time, it's quite a stagnant thing. You know, there are only certain ways you can do stories, and there is a ceiling that you hit behind the camera when it comes to skill gathering. Of course, in the digital era, there are a lot more things to learn,
Yeah.
but for traditional news, you tend to hit a ceiling. But in front of the camera, sky's the limit. The news is constantly changing. The way you produce news is constantly changing. The way you discuss and talk about news is constantly changing. I mean, look at the Iran war, the
Exactly.
entire situation. And we were, as anchors, we were at one point confined to a table. Now the entire studio is our table, where we're sitting down, we're getting up, we're running around, we're looking at visuals, we're discussing different scenarios, we're looking at graphics, we're talking to guests, we're talking to newsmakers. It is a world of running around, absorbing, disseminating, and being excited about news in front of the camera. And I feel the zest that brings, while behind the camera is very important, I prefer in front of the camera, at least at this stage.
Okay, so as you can see, this is our PCR room.
Yes.
So now
This is the nerve center of any newsroom. I mean, without these guys, and I'm so glad as a news producer, I learned what they did so that when I came in front of the camera, I knew what was going on. But without these guys, no news organization can survive.
For
No
sure.
newsroom can survive. The PCR is the nerve center of anything. You can be the best anchor in the world. If you don't have a good PCR room, kuch baat nahi banti.
So now I'll take you to your favorite part, of which you said to be on screen,
Yeah,
like our studios.
yeah,
Here we do all the panel discussions and all.
yeah.
And
And this is like a breakfast news type too, because of the
yeah, kind of
homely feel.
podcast.
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
And this is where our audience sits.
Nice.
So please have a seat, sir.
Yeah, please.
जैसे आपने अपने एक इवेंट में बताया है कि आप साइंस बैकग्राउंड से थे, लेकिन यू ऑलवेज कंसिडर्ड योरसेल्फ एज एन आर्ट स्टूडेंट.
Yeah.
But it was just that you were not confident enough in yourself to choose writing or journalism as a career. And I feel like this is the same scenario जो आजकल mostly students face करते हैं. We know what we want in life.
Yeah.
We know हमें क्या करना है. But it's just that we are not confident in ourselves कि अगर हम ये करेंगे तो ठीक होगा या नहीं, हम इसमें कर पाएंगे या नहीं. And मतलब ऐसे situation में आप students को क्या advice करेंगे?
See, I would always say that when I was in class 10th, I always wanted to be an aeronautical engineer.
Oh.
I wanted to build space shuttles and rockets and everything because I was like, science is good, man. I really enjoy science. Then class 11 started and the hard sciences then started. But at the same time, in my school, the Doon School, there was also the Doon School Weekly, which is a weekly newsletter.
Okay.
And in that, students were encouraged to write stories, poems, reports, and all of that. And I also got into that. And slowly and steadily, while the science was great, while the science was happening, I was falling in love with the writing process as well.
Okay.
I was falling in love with producing, newsletters and news stories and writing creatively and all of that. And I'm like, I think this is where I need to be. I think this is where my heart is taking me. So I leaned in that direction. Secondly, by that time it was too late. I wish I would have got that realization a bit sooner so that after my class 10th I would have picked humanities and not sciences. But by class 11th I got that realization and I was stuck. I was stuck with sciences. And then class 12th happened, and even though I wanted to go into an arts kind of a course, my options were very limited.
Okay.
Right, because I wanted something that would give me great exposure. Thankfully, and this is just my luck, when I passed out, NDTV came out with a scholarship program for Cardiff University, a full scholarship to study BA in journalism at Cardiff University. It was a national competition, thousands of students. I was like, yeah, how will I win this? I'm not like some hotshot. So then, but my mother, while I was telling her that I'm not going to win, why bother? She, behind my back, she registered me for the competition.
Mother instincts.
Mother instincts, yeah. She registered me for the competition and I was like, fine, let's go for it. मैं first round में ही निकल जाऊँगा, क्या बड़ी बात है. So I went in and got through.
Yeah.
मैं बोला कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. Next round got through. And I'm like, nah, फिर से नहीं होने वाला. Third round also got through.
Wow.
Then
that's
I was
great.
like, maybe I can win this. Can I win this? And all of that. And then we had a quiz round, then we had a task round, and I remember the final scores also. It was me and this other guy. I got 84 out of 100 for my presentation. He got 82.
Oh, just 2 marks.
And with those 2 marks, my life completely changed.
Yeah.
Because
As
I got
we
a
can see.
full scholarship to Cardiff University to study journalism. And then I finished my MA over there as well. And then I started working for a newspaper there as well. But UK politics was so boring. So boring. I'll give you an example. You know what the biggest scandal was? I was in Wales. Biggest scandal was that the opposition wanted the government in Wales to resign because there was not enough salt to de-ice the roads.
That's so
That was
different.
their scandal. That was their scandal. Forget corruption, forget,
Yeah, exactly.
forget defense leaks and all of that. Salt nahi thi unke paas. So that opposition wanted the government to resign. And I was like, and at that time, Anna Hazare was on this war path. UPA government was about to fall. Modi was about to come in. I was like, India is the place to be. So then I packed up. I came back and I began as an intern, and I just kept at it. I just kept at it because the buzz and rush of a newsroom was so kind of intoxicating for me that I just fell in love with the entire process. And like I told you, I loved the behind the scenes more than sitting in front. But then I came to realize at one point I need to evolve into an anchor as well. I wish I told myself that I should evolve way sooner.
Yeah.
But I think I love the entire process. My only lesson to the younger lot is always think outside the box.
Okay.
Once you're finding your opportunities. Like I'll tell you how I got into the internship at CNN News 18. I came back, I didn't know anyone in the media industry.
In India.
In India. No, I didn't know anyone. So each media organization has their webpage and there's a contact us email at the bottom of it. I just randomly started sending my CVs.
Okay.
My CV to, and I would send about 10 emails a day.
Okay.
ठीक है? For 1 month, 2 months, no reply. No reply whatsoever. So then I was getting a bit frustrated by the entire process.
obviously.
You know, like I had a nice profile. I had interned with Sky News, BBC, and I had a online profile. But no one's giving me a nibble. I would try to call their offices. They would cut the phone and all of that. So I couldn't get my foot through the door. Then I remembered that Suhasini Haider, at the time, she's currently diplomatic editor of Hindu. She ran a world news show on CNN News 18, where I work now.
Okay.
And I was like, how do I get to her? Because I really like her show. I might want to intern with her. My mother, then mother's instinct, as you were saying, my mother said, why don't you tweet to her?
Okay.
Imagine. I was like, yeah, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So I tweeted to her my LinkedIn link. You know your LinkedIn page?
Yeah.
It's called, I just say Control C. I just put it on Twitter. I was like, hello, Suhasini ma'am. Here is my LinkedIn profile. Can I get an internship? I tweeted it to her. At Suhasini Haider. And I was like, what? She'll give me a gali. She'll say, go away. But lo and behold, 2 days later, she said, come for an internship.
Oh, nice.
I went for the internship. I interned for a month. And then I got absorbed into the organization. And I just didn't look back. And then there was a steady rise from there.
That was the sign of universe to you that...
Yeah. And which is why I'm saying there is no rule. I think in India, we get bogged down by this entire thing कि, you know, ये application है, इस application को यहाँ देना है, उस बंदे के से उस office से procedure, इस office से उस office जाएगा, फिर इस office जाएगा. In the media industry, it's never like that. You just have to thank your stars that you have a good profile and just be at it. Just be at it. And if the zeal is there, then the luck will follow through as well.
Okay, तो अब हम थोड़ा जर्नलिज्म की करंट रियलिटी की तरफ जब बढ़ते हैं. आजकल मीडिया पोलराइजेशन पे काफ़ी बात होती है. तो ऐसे में आप एडिटोरियल इंडिपेंडेंस को कैसे मेंटेन करते हैं?
You just have to ensure that the heart of the story is valid. And at the end of the day, I've realized with the advent of the digital media, there is a market for all sides of a story. Because if you are purely, let's say, peddling a pro-government narrative, you are alienating 50% of the audience.
Okay.
If you are peddling an anti-government narrative, you are alienating another 50% of the audience. So to a great extent, what's happened is that while there are different pressures of different news stories, all in all, a news organization wants to tell a good story, wants to tell a compelling story, something that would get people interested. This is why no matter which government is in power, pollution becomes a big story.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter which government is in power, the Aravali story became such a huge story. No matter which government is in power, war becomes such a huge story. So in those scenarios, while politics is of course an aspect of all of these stories, each and every organization wants to just do a compelling story. So while people talk about polarization, I feel net, if you look at coverage of every channel, they do quite a good job in telling good, compelling stories. There is not a partisan agenda as such. I think what tends to happen is that in social media echo chambers, you tend to see a particular channel as pro or
That
anti.
filter bubble.
Right, in that, in that filtered bubble. But net, as a news producer, as an anchor, I assure you, we do all stories. Nothing is off limits. If a story is compelling, no matter who's in power, it definitely does become a story.
Okay, so my next question to you would be कि आज के टाइम में डिजिटल और सोशल मीडिया न्यूज़ काफ़ी डोमिनेंट हो रही है, तो इस चेंजिंग लैंडस्केप में आप ट्रेडिशनल टीवी जर्नलिज्म का फ्यूचर कैसे देखते हैं?
अब तो बड़ा अच्छा फ्यूचर है, because we are now not just catering to the people who have Tata Skies.
Yeah.
Now we are catering to everyone who has a phone.
Yeah.
Case in point is the coverage of the Iran war. Okay, our focus, and the precursor to that was Operation Sindoor. In Operation Sindoor, we realized that the market for news is huge, but not traditionally digitally. While we were putting out the news of the different strikes coming in from the Indian forces, while the traditional media wasn't giving us the returns and the viewership, YouTube skyrocketed the viewership. Because while people were turning off their televisions at 9:30, 10 o'clock, YouTube was activating at 10 o'clock at night. And seeing all the visuals that we were putting out, we got millions and millions of views on our Operation Sindoor coverage, which made us realize that digital is the future. Okay. So what is happening now, there is no traditional broadcast journalist. Now you're a multimedia journalist. Now we are doing stories for television, of course, but those same stories are repackaged for digital. We do stories particularly for digital now. And Operation Sindoor showed us the potential of YouTube. Iran war has shown us that there is a massive market for news in Instagram now.
Yeah.
Instagram has now become the major selling point for news. And now most of our stories, while we put it out on our televisions, it gets repackaged into reels, into short videos and everything, and it gets put on Instagram. And the views are monumental. So we've realized that the engagement factor has now completely shifted. Yeah. So no news producer, no news anchor can be confined to one medium now. We are all trained now for all mediums to tell stories.
Multitasking.
Multitasking, multimedia journalists. There is no, you can't call anyone a TV journalist anymore. You can't call anyone a print journalist anymore. You are a multimedia journalist now, because even print reporters have to cater to Twitter, they have to cater to Instagram to tell their stories.
Okay, so अब इसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एआई की हम बात करें तो आज के टाइम में एआई जर्नलिज्म में काफ़ी यूज़ हो रहा है, कंटेंट जनरेशन से लेके न्यूज़ एनालिसिस तक. तो आप इस चेंज को अपॉर्चुनिटी के रूप में देखते हैं या फिर एक थ्रेट के रूप में?
No, because because I am someone who uses a lot of AI to collate information. I know the quality that AI gives. So while AI is good at gathering information, you ever read the analysis of AI? It's the flattest analysis it can give you. Yeah. Because AI will give you the medium opinion, the median opinion, excuse me. It'll give you what everyone is talking about, and it'll give you a kind of a very, how would you say, it'll collate all the information and it'll give you a representative analysis of everything that's there on the web. But at the end of the day, that's not how journalism is done. At the end of the day, you look at the heart of a story. If something is an extremely compelling story, it has to be a one-sided story. If something is a very heart-rendering story, like a sexual assault case or murder case, there are certain ways you have to write it that AI can't do it.
Yeah.
And there are certain ways you have to do political stories a certain way that AI can't do it. AI is great to drag in past information and research and everything, but collating information is very important. I'll give you a case in point: the Iran war. You go to any AI model, if you type in requesting an article on Donald Trump, it'll constantly refer to Donald Trump as former president of the United States.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They make several factual errors. So while AI is good to get a broad outline of things, the heart and the finesse of a story, it's still human driven. It's the same thing with news media, it's the same thing with movies, TV shows. AI is there, but it's not a market leader right now.
Okay. So, if we talk about the global perspective now, normal viewers के लिए जो international conflicts हैं उन्हें समझना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है, especially ईरान इजराइल जैसे जो issues हैं. आप जब उनको explain करते हैं तो आपका approach क्या होता है कि clarity भी आए और depth भी lose ना हो?
I think you have to just tell the story as it is, because giving context in these kind of stories is very important.
Yeah.
Now, to a great extent, with the Iran and the US fight, one thing that is very, something that drives the story is the unpredictability of Donald Trump.
Exactly.
That one day he'll say something, another day he'll say something else. And the constant factors in this, the underdogs of the narrative, are the Iranians, who are being bombed back to the Stone Age, yet they have the resilience to stay on. So, in the battle of narratives, I always feel it's good to give the context of the past, but how America has undermined democracy in Iran for several years, how Israel has its own strategic advantages as well as opportunities in West Asia, how Iran has realized that the Strait of Hormuz can be used as leverage, how the United States, especially under Trump, is now facing a massive backlash because of this war, because of rising energy prices. So all of these contexts kind of make people heroes and villains at the same time. Yeah. But that is the job of the audience to decide who they back. All I can do is tell them kisne kisko kab kaise mara, and how the United States, which was the security guarantor of that entire region, has completely failed in its approach to this entire war. Because they have miscalculated the resilience of the Iranians, and now by the language of coming in from Donald Trump, he's now looking for an honorable exit instead of a solution to what he's himself has broken.
Yeah,
and in that entire process, he's undermining his own allies, he's undermining the entire process of dialogue, because pretty much his entire, there's this term they use for Trump called taco, which means Trump always chickens out.
Okay.
Right, and that's something that's indicative of his entire political life, and people are seeing it here as well, because he's not achieved any of his objectives, and he's pretty much chickening out of this entire thing. His theme to the entire West Asia is that I've broken it, but you deal with it.
Yeah. So, जब ग्लोबल लेवल पर इतने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स चल रहे हैं, तो इंडिया एक बैलेंस्ड पोजीशन लेने की कोशिश कर रहा है. क्या आपको लगता है कि ये स्ट्रैटेजी लॉन्ग टर्म में इंडिया के लिए बेनिफिशियल है?
Definitely. Being balanced, looking for an India first perspective is of course great. India at this stage, especially with the United States trying to create a bipolar world, cannot take sides, because the enemies of let's say the superpowers have been our allies since we got independence. Russia has been our biggest defense partner since our independence. Israel was our defense partner when the entire world abandoned us during our crucial conflicts like Kargil. Israelis came and backed us. So India has always maintained this deft diplomacy when we manage all of our relationships. And we've been able to do that very effectively under Prime Minister Modi, with be it the United States, be it Russia, be it Israel, even managing our ties to create a kind of a de-escalation along the line of actual control with China. This is years and years of diplomatic work, and this happens when you have diplomatic experts and an India first agenda. I feel India has done a very good job, even though Prime Minister gets criticized for the moral aspects of diplomacy. There is no room for morality in diplomacy. Morality is such a grey area because the interests of your people are paramount, beyond what the morality is. The price of energy, the security of your people, that is number one, beyond whether you're condemning something or supporting something. So I feel that kind of understanding is there very clearly with Prime Minister Modi, and to a great extent he has done a pretty commendable job in managing this very turbulent time in global politics, especially because of Donald Trump throwing tariffs, conflicts, bad-mouthing allies, sending markets into chaos. In that entire context, India is floating through choppy waters quite effectively. Just one example is the fuel prices. Pakistan has seen a massive surge. Nepal has seen a massive surge. Sri Lanka has seen a massive surge, to the extent that these countries are not even selling petrol after 8 p.m. in their countries. But India has not seen a price rise. India has not seen short selling of petrol. India has not seen blockades. That is because of the diplomacy of this current government, to the extent that even Indian ships are now being allowed through the Strait of Hormuz, and while others are being blocked. So India first has been the motto of this government, and I think they've done a commendable job.
Okay, so we are concluding this interview here. Thank you so much, sir, हमारे साथ आज जुड़ने के लिए. आपने अपने experiences, अपने perspectives और अपनी जो insights के through हमसे बातें share करी है, वो हम सबके लिए बहुत valuable है. और हमें उम्मीद है कि आज की ये conversation सिर्फ informative ही नहीं, बल्कि inspiring भी रही होगी, especially उनके लिए जो media या journalism field में आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं. So, इसी के साथ हम इस interview को यहीं conclude करते हैं. Thank you for watching.